Sexual reproduction is a process by which offspring are produced by the combination of genetic material from two parents. It involves the fusion of specialized reproductive cells known as gametes from a male and female individual. The resulting offspring inherit a unique combination of genetic material from both parents, leading to genetic diversity within a population. In sexual reproduction, the male produces sperm which are typically small, mobile, and designed to fertilize the female's eggs. The female produces eggs which are typically larger and less mobile than sperm. The fusion of sperm and egg, known as fertilization, produced a zygote which then undergoes cell division and differentiation to form an embryo. Sexual reproduction is found in many types of organisms, from simple bacteria to complex animals and plants. It is a fundamental process for the maintenance of genetic diversity within a species and can also lead to evolution of new traits and adaptations over time.
Pollination. Pollination is the act of transferring pollen grains from the male anther to the female stigma. The goal of every living organism, including plants, is to create offspring for the next generation. One of the ways that plants can provide offspring is by making seeds. There are two types of pollination found in flowering plants. The first one is the self-pollination. It occurs with the same plant but of the same kind. And the next one is the cross-pollination. The cross-pollination, it is the most advantageous of the two types of pollination since it provides species with a greater genetic diversity. The next we talk about is a pollinator. A pollinator is anything that helps carry pollen from the male part of the flower, stamen, to the female part of a same flower, which is stigma. The movement of a pollen must occur for the plant to become fertilized and produce foods, seeds, or young plants. Who are the pollinators? It is the birds, bats, butterflies, moths, flies, beetles, small mammals, and most importantly, the bees are the pollinators. Pollinators visit flowers in their search for food, nectar, and pollen. During a flower visit, a pollinator may accidentally brush against the flower's reproductive parts, unknowingly depositing pollen from the flower to flower. The plant uses the pollen to produce fruit or seed.
What is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is a mode of reproduction that does not involve the fusion of gametes, which is sex cells, from two different individuals. Instead, a single organism can produce offspring that are genetically identical or nearly identical to itself. There are several different types of asexual reproduction, including binary fission. The parent organism divides into two daughter cells of equal size, each of which develops into a new individual. Budding. Budding is a new individual grows as an outgrowth or bud from the parent organism and eventually separates to form a separate individual. Next is the fragmentation. The parent organism breaks into several pieces, each of which can develop into a new individual. Vegetative propagation. A new plant can grow from a specialized structure such as a stem, root, or leaf. Asexual reproduction is common in many reproduction types which is organism including bacteria, fungi, plants, and some animals. It is often an efficient way for an organism to produce offspring quickly and without the need to find a mate.
There is a close relationship between the fruit or seed structure and the way it is disseminated or dispersed around. But why is the dispersal necessary? Root and seeds are necessary to disperse to avoid overcrowding in particular area with the same plant species. Competing for food and sunlight with the parent plants is tough for the newly grown plants. On the other hand, the dispersal of the seeds will also help the plants to find new, favorable habitats and help them control spread of virus diseases and arthropod attacks. The dispersal of fruits and seeds is affected and aided in different ways by external agents, such as wind, animals, or water. Many plants have their fruits or seeds modified to ensure their proper dispersal at the right time. Dispersal by wind. Here's an interesting phenomenon. Fruit and seed have over the years adapted well to its propagation by wind. Pale and pretty looking wildflower, dandelion for example. If the flower don't dry up and release their parakeets of fine hairs, we won't be able to see them on almost every nook and corner in every spring. Fruit and seeds that depend on the wind for their dispersal mostly have these fine hairs or more features like flat, wing-like structures and large surface area which increases its buoyancy in the air. Like a maple seed, they may be small and light so they can float in the air and be readily blown about the wind. For example, orchid seed, the wings or parakeets of the fruits or seeds are formed from different parts of the flower. For example, in the case of cotton, the organ of dispersal is the set of hairs around the testa. Dispersal of animals. The fruits or seeds which the animals forage on are the ones that are most likely to be dispersed. Therefore, most of the fruit dispersed by animals are edible. In some fruits, for example, are tomatoes. The whole pericarp is succulent as it stores food minerals. In lemons and oranges, the fruit chamber has succulent hair. Food materials are mainly stored in these hairs. Succulent fruits are scented and their skins are often brightly colored to attract animals. For example, the peel of orange plants which produces scented and rather volatile oil to attract animals. The whole fruit may be eaten by animals such as birds, bats, cats, dogs, and etc. The small hard seeds are indigestible and may be excretable far away from the parent plant. Sometimes the seeds are spat out by animals and very often still capable of germination. On the other hand, the animal carried their fruits and only ate some parts of them, then leave the seeds behind to germinate. An example of this is the mango. Some dry fruits such as shanshum can also be dispersed by crossing animals. Fruits adapted for this method of dispersal possess hook-like structures by which they can adhere onto the fur or skin of the animals passing by. These fruits may be later be brushed off the animals' bodies or they may fall off when the hooks shrivel. The fruits may also adhere to our clothing and be dispersed in a similar manner. Dispersal by water. Flowing water in the ocean, rivers, and streams are important agents of dispersal. Aquatic plants and plenty of plants living on riverbanks or the shore depend on the water dispersal. These fruit and seeds are adapted for floating and can drift for considerable distance. For example, the coconut fruit incorporates waterproof skin. Inside the skin, a fibrous husk containing numerous air spaces lightens the fruit, enables it to float on the water. The seed within it contains a store of food, that is, the meat in the coconut, and there is sufficient water in the seed to enable its germination. Even on sandy shores, we can see another example from the seeds of water lily. The seed have an aerial, a small float which holds air. It can float on the water away from the parent plants until the aerials decompose. Then they sink to the bottom of the riverbanks or pond and germinate. Here's an interesting fact. Some fruits do not depend on the external aids, such as wind, animals, or water, disperse their seeds. When these fruits are drying up, they burst open suddenly with a great force to throw out the seed, as in the case of ripe balsam fruits. They eject the seeds away from the parent plant. Other examples are rubber fruit and the legumes of many plants. Legumes are dry fruit that split along both edges and sutures. Peas and beans are legumes. In these legumes, the pericarp shrinks as it dries up, building up tensions which force open the fruit suddenly.
Pleasant morning or evening to you everyone, and especially to you Ma'am Kate. I'm here in front of you to discuss all about germination. So what is germination? Uh, According to the definition of germination is the process by which a plant grows from a seed. It involves the activation of the embryo with the seed and the emergence of the radical or embryonic root from the seed coat. Germination is a crucial step in the life cycle of plants, at it marks the beginning of the growth and the development. Dito daw po nagsisimula yung pag-grow ng plant at pag-develop po ng isang plant. Second one, the germination process can be affected by a number of factors including water, temperature, light, and soil nutrients. Seeds requires water to soften the seeds and the activation of enzymes within the embryo. Kailangan daw po ng water ng isang embryo para mag-grow po yung plant. Yun po. The optimal temperature of germination varies depending on the species of plants but generally falls within the range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Light can also play a role in germination, with some seeds requiring exposure to light trigger the process. So, kailangan din po ng sikat ng araw para mas lalo po mag-grow yung plants. Yun po. Once a seed has germinated and the radical has emerged, the seedling will begin to grow and develop its first leaf. At yun na nga po. So, utay-utay na nag-grow yung plant habang pa isa-isang dahon ay lumalabas na po hanggang sa yumabong na yung plants. At this point, the plant will begin to require nutrients from the soil and support continued to growth. Hanggang sa lumaki na po yung plants. Yun po yung germination. Thank you.
Fertilization. Fertilization is the process by which the male and female gametes, reproductive cells, unite two from the zygote and first cell of a new organisms. Fertilization can occur in both sexual and sexual reproduction, but the mechanism and outcomes are different. In asexual reproduction, fertilization involves the fusion of two haploid cells that are genetically identical or nearly identical. This process is called self-fertilization or autogamy. In some organisms, such as bacteria and certain plants, this can occur through a process called binary fission or vegetative reproduction, where one parent cell divides into identical daughter cells. In other organisms such as hydra and some flatworms, the process of asexual reproduction involves the development of a specialized reproductive structure such as buds or fission zones, which reproduce new genetically identical individuals. In sexual reproduction, fertilization involves the fusion of haploid gametes from the two different individuals, resulting in a genetically diverse offspring. In animals, the male gametes is typically a small motile sperm cell, while the female gamete is a larger non-motile egg cell. The fusion of the sperm and egg produced is a diploid zygote with a unique combination of genetical material both parents. In plants, the gametes are produced with the reproductive structure of the flower, and fertilization occurs when pollen from the male structure under is transferred to the female structure stigma and grows down the ovary where the gamete is located. All the process of fertilization is essential step in the reproduction of both organisms and different mechanisms of Sexual and asexual reproduction allow for a diverse range and reproductive strategies and adoption.